Hello everyone, welcome to Ajiro Tech. Ajiro Tech. In this video, you're going to be learning the AS and A level information technology with the course code 9626. We're looking at paper one, which is the theory part of it, February March 2026. Okay, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I will tell you right now that you're missing a lot because it is one of the best YouTube channel you can get for ICT and IT and even chemistry. I can tell you right now, chemistry, the legendary Mr. Gideon Sunday is taking chemistry to a whole new level we have never seen before. And I mean, if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, you're missing a lot. Okay, you're missing a lot. And if you have not joined our Discord community server, what can I say? Scan the QR code, be part of it. You can use this link to join, or you can use this link to join to be a part of it. Okay, it's very important that you join our platforms because for the Discord community server is where you get to have you get to collaborate with other students, you get to be aware or notified of any last minute revision across every subject. Welcome to AS level IT class. Hmm, welcome. You can see the smiles on my face. Okay, I think I'm smiling. Yes, I'm smiling. Then it's a hair something here. Yeah, I'm smiling. Okay. I'm not an artist. But what can I say? I tried, right? So welcome to the ES level IT class. I know you'll be excited. I know you're going to learn a lot. And so stick with me as we venture into this. Okay. We are a registered educational platform license for private tuition classes, whether it's one-on-one, one-on-three, one-on-one, group of three, group of five for Cambridge, EdXL, GCSE, across all subjects, right? So if you have a friend or the friend has a friend that needs it, all you can do right now is good. Take a screenshot of this and post it in every group, letting them know that we do have private tuition classes across ICT, IT, chemistry, biology. I mean, these tutors are amazing. Physics is amazing. And most of them, you've seen some of the videos they have done right here on this YouTube channel to tell you, to convince you that they are the best in the game. Okay, so just reach out to the academic coordination team, info@agiotech.com or agiotech@gmail.com. Okay, so let's move over to the teachers. We have a combo plan. Yes, we do have a combo plan. That is, yes, going at a fast rate, selling at a fast rate. Um, and I will tell you, I mean, for the ICT combo plan, it is one of the most popular combo plan you could literally find anywhere. And this is to simplify your work. You have things like the lesson slides, you have your interactive quizzes from chapter 1 to chapter 21, scheme of work, topical questions. Um, you have your assessment and examination question provided for you. You get a soft copy of the textbook. And most importantly, you get that unlimited support from me, right? So this is a complete, if you've watched my practical videos, you've probably seen that I've shown you a sample of this to tell you that we're not just saying it, we're also showing it. Okay. So reach out to the academic coordination team or the sales team, info@agiltech.com, agiltech@gmail.com. This is only for teachers, not for students. So if you're a student, no matter how, we're not going to sell because we've rejected a lot. We're not, it's only for the teachers. Okay. Yes, for the A levels, we do have it. The AS is very important. It's the foundation. The advanced subsidiary is the foundation of how the students are going to do well. If they don't do well in their AS, it's going to be very tough for them in the A2, right? So that is why we've prepared a combo plan, right, for the AS um, teachers, the AS IT teachers, and it comprises of the lesson slides from chapter 1 to chapter 11. The quizzes comes in different format. We have some chapters that have more than three, right? To prepare you to to take it to your class, and you get to host the things in your classes to engage your students as much as possible. We have topical questions from chapter 1 to chapter 11, and it comes with a math scheme as well. You get a soft copy of both the ES and the E2 textbook, and you get the support from me. Okay, so reach out to the academic coordination team or the sales team, info@ajiroTech.com or ajirotech@gmail.com. And as a bonus resource, yes, as a bonus resource, we get to give you chapter 12 IT Society and Chapter 13 New and Emerging Technology as a bonus, including the mark scheme, including the topical questions, the slides, and the slides are editable as a bonus when you purchase the ESIT combo plan. This prices are just a fair across because it simplifies your work and it's a one-time payment both for the ASIT and for the IGCSE ICT. Okay, okay, all right. So let's get to work. Let's get to work. Let's get to work. Let's get to work. Okay, we can do this. Let's get to work. Let's get to work. Question 1A. Irene would like to post a photograph of a family on social media website. Okay. Describe two ways in which Irene can ensure that the personal data in the photograph can be protected after it has been posted online. So we have social media and we have personal data. So let's talk about this to ensure that our personal data. So we see this in chapter 5, e-security, because chapter 6 is digital device, chapter 7 is expert system. So e-security. Now, they said she wants to post a photograph of her family to ensure that her personal data in the photograph can be protected after it's been posted online. Now, one way that for Irene to ensure that her personal details in the photograph can be protected is there's what we call, and I'm going to explain this. There's what we call geotag, or what you call your metadata. Anytime you take a picture, okay, anytime you take a picture, you would notice that when you go to your photos, it shows you, it gives you information about that picture, right? So what are those information it gives you? It contains things like GPS location, the date it was taken, the device used, and so forth and so forth, right? So this contains that information in that photo. And if she's posting a photograph, people can use that to, if a criminal access that information, what it is going to happen? They will discover where Irene lives or where the photograph was taken. So we want to find a way to ensure that her personal data in the photograph can be protected after it's been posted online. So the first thing we need to do is for Irene, she needs to she needs to remove geotag or metadata from the photograph. She's posting on social media, so she can change her privacy settings, right? So with sure she can change her privacy setting, her privacy settings. So only approved people can view the photograph. Instead of making the photo public, right? So Irene can restrict access to friends only. So essentially, she can restrict access to friends only. She can make her account um, private. So that's another one. That's another way three. Irene can make her account private, right? So it prevents strangers from even viewing the image. Okay. So essentially, she can also find a way to obscure if she's taking the photograph in a place that has a banner or a restaurant, she can obscure those places, right? So there are features that allows you to be able to remove those locations. So she will just be having this photograph with the family, having a good time, and people don't even have to know um, where um, that particular photograph was taken, right? So she can make her account private. That's access to her social media account, access to her social media. You can add social media. Let me just clean this. That's what I mean. Access to her social media account private. Okay, so she can do that. Okay, so hope this is clear. All right. Irene has installed a firewall on her home computer. Describe how a firewall works to prevent unauthorized access to computer system. This is chapter 5, e-security. Now, what's a firewall, right? A firewall filters incoming and outgoing traffic from a network. That's literally um, what it does. So it monitors incoming and outgoing um, data packets. So let's describe how a firewall works to prevent unauthorized, right? So a firewall acts as a security barrier between a network and external devices. Please let me know if you can see my handwriting in the comment section. To describe how it works to prevent unauthorized access to a computer network. So it acts as a security barrier between a network and it monitors incoming and outgoing data packets. checks packets against predefined rules. So that simply means what has been defined, right? Whatever rules has been defined to ensure that, for example, Facebook cannot be accessed because, again, Irene is a student and the parents must have installed a firewall in such a way that, okay, let's put this student so it makes it easy for us so that she cannot access things like maybe Facebook, Instagram, right? On their home network, whether it's through app or whatever. So this file network, so anytime Irene wants to go to places like that, it blocks her. She cannot go to undesirable websites. Even if the friend sends something to her, view this, she basically click on something, then the firewall prevents her, only allows what has been wish list. Everything that has been on the blacklist would not be allowed to go into the home network. Okay? So it checks the packet against predefined rules. And what happens? Allows, authorized traffic to pass and blocks unauthorized traffic. Very important about the firewall. The firewall can filter packets. These packets, if you're wondering, they are your what? Um, the information that goes in, right? So filters packets based on IP address, port number, and protocol. Firewall uses techniques such as packet filtering, stateful inspection, and it can also use proxy services to ensure that if the person is using proxy, that would not be allowed to work as well. Okay, so imagine this. Let me give you a scenario. Imagine a security guide at the gate. And what's the work of the security guard? The security guard is going to check who enters, right? Who enters the gate. He's going to check who is leaving, right? Is going to allow unauthorized people or something like that, right? Unauthorized people would refuse suspicious visitors. That's literally the work of the security guard. The firewall performs that same function. So it checks to ensure, and it's important to know that firewall can be hardware and software. So it ensures that anything coming into the home network right, is based on the predefined rules that has been set. What has been allowed, what has been rejected, right? And this is important for Irene because the parents what had to study, right? So this is very important. Okay. So I hope this is clear, right? So it's the same thing for even um okay, I'll give a good example. Um for the home network in Irene. It could allow school website traffic. So she can access the school website. She could access her email, right? It could block hackers attempting to access. It could block malicious um, software traffics as well. So these rules are very important. Firewall does not block hackers. No, it doesn't. But rather, it filters incoming and outgoing traffic, and it has various filtering what methods, like we talked about here. The packet filtering as one of them, right? It uses these techniques um, to do that. Okay, so it can filter packets based on IP, ports, and protocols. If the website is not secure, you probably block it. So these are the things that you need to know when it comes to a firewall. I hope this is clear. Okay, so all right. Describe one drawback of using a firewall on a computer network. So we're still on chapter 5, insecurity. So let's talk about the drawback. Now, one drawback is that it filters incoming and outgoing. It can slow down network performance. It can, right? Because every packet that is coming in has to be checked before being allowed to. So it's going to, and it does it continuously, right? So that's one drawback. Slow down network performance because every packet must be checked before being allowed to, right? So that simply means the checking here simply means more processing, possible delay. It can also block legitimate traffic, right? Even though those websites are not bad, if it sees that there is a fraction of that rule in it, it's going to block it. Okay, it's going to block it. That is one drawback. That's what you can put this for other. It can block legitimate traffic. So these are the drawbacks using a firewall on a computer. 4722 IP5 IPR5G are items of data. Explain why this is not information. So this is chapter 1, data processing, and information. See that? Now, what are data? Data are what? Are unprocessed. That has not been processed yet. Okay? Information are processed data. Data are raw facts. Simply means that there is no meaning of themselves. That's what data means. Raw facts, no meaning, no meaning or context. Information, on the other hand, simply means processed data and what has what? Context or meaning. Okay, so explain why this is not a data. Okay, I've talked about it, but let me do it here. The values are raw data. Okay, and have not been processed into meaningful information. Okay, now let's look at some things here. Raw data, 1 mark. Not been processed, 1 mark. Okay. Into meaningful information, that's another mark. That's 3 marks. Okay. So this is very important. Now, these are the example of the data, 47, 22, and this. Right? If we are to turn this to information, what would it be? Right? If we are to turn this to information, this could be student score, student could be student. Okay. Or we could say 47 students scored yes. Okay, students 47 scored 22 marks with a candidate code PXR5G. So now this is seen as what? As information. Good. This is seen as information, right? Are we together? So this is seen as information. Okay. A consultant has suggested that a gesture based interface, that's GBI, could be used as part of a security system on the door of a government office. The office is only allowed by staff. Describe how a gesture-based interface can be used to interact with the security system. So this is chapter 2, hardware and software. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Now, when we talk about gesture, this is interacting with the system with part of your body, using part of your body. So there is no need for any mechanical input devices. Okay, so the SCAP gesture interface can be used to interact with the security system. So here, the user performs a specific gesture, such as waving a hand. Okay, so you have to specify. You don't just say you have what kind, right? Is it um moving the head or wave of hand? You have to specify. Okay, saying perform a specific gesture is not going to be allowed. So take note of that. Okay, it's not going to be allowed. The next one is a camera. They say describe how a gesture with a camera captures. So we have to describe the movement. The system compares the gesture with stored gesture on the database. If recognized, access is granted. Okay, so this is very important. So it could be waving of hand or head movement or arm movement. Okay, so the camera will detect the movement and the software is going to interpret it. Very important. Evaluate the use of a gesture-based interface as part of the security system for this office. So this is still chapter 2, hardware and software. And this is under user interface, if you're wondering. So when we talk about evaluate, we talk about two things. You don't just judge something without looking at both the positive and the negative side of it. That makes it a complete evaluation. Okay, which is a command word there. You look at the good side, you look at the bad side. So let's talk about the positive. Let's talk about the positive. Employees only by staff. Okay, the staff do not need to remember passwords or carry access cards, which is good. There's no need to touch the device. So that's simply, there's no need for any form of physical contact. There's no need for that, right? So that simply means it can really work, right? From whether you're far from it or whatever, it's going to work. There's no need for you to come close to it. No need for that. And this is very important because when you touch something, right, often and often, it can cause any form of transmission or any hygiene issues. And we want to, the government agencies, the government office want to avoid situations. So there's no need to touch the um, device, okay, which improves hygiene and reduces disease transmission. Okay, so let's talk about the negative. It is the sad reality, but if I have to wave my hand like this and it opens, you better believe, I wish you can see me while I'm waving my hand, right? You better believe that next person will just wave his hand too, and it might grant access. Because gesture is looking at the movement, not facial. It's not biometrics. It's looking at the movement, right? So gesture can be copied, which means someone watching may learn the gesture, which reduces security. The system may misinterpret a gesture. Okay, it may misinterpret, right? So that simply means that the person might be trying to do this and his hand is here, right? I wish you can see me. He's trying to wave, and then the other hand, and he might not understand that this hand is up or it's not part of it, and he might misinterpret. So it may misinterpret a gesture, which could result to unauthorized users being denied access. And unauthorized user or staff granted access. Okay, so which is a problem. Okay, and then we also have to look at the negative for this as well. Some disabled staff may not be able to perform the gesture. they may not be able to perform the gesture, right? Because, well, they are disabled. Okay. Okay. So it's important that gesture-based systems are convenient, right? And contactless, but maybe less secure if the gestures are observed and copied. And under the negative here, I think I've added, this is 5. Let me just make it 6. It is, it only works when visible to the camera, which may delay the ability to open the door. Okay. Let's hope you can see my handwriting. Users or staff. Yes, or staff. Okay.
A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Ajiro Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdExcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have um, you know the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, um, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at agiletech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable, and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, um, and also for the EdExcel. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdExcel E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time. Even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at agile@gmail.com, and they will reply to you.
Mainframe computers and supercomputers have different characteristics. This is chapter 2, hardware and software. Using 3 characteristics. Okay, wait, let me see. I need to add, sorry, I just realized that I only talked about it. Now, for you to evaluate, when you talk about the positive and you talk about the negative, you must end with what? A conclusion. I remember I talked about it, but I didn't write it. So in conclusion, the gesture-based systems are convenient and contactless, but may okay may be less secured if gesture are observed and copied. So that's it, and copied. Okay, so that's the conclusion for that. That's how you do a proper evaluation. Conclude the positive, negative, and your conclusion. Very important. Using three different characteristics. I'm talking about this chapter 2. Mainframe and supercomputers have different characteristics. Using three different characteristics, describe differences between mainframe computers and supercomputer using three characteristics. So let's describe it. So we're going to describe it in so many forms, right? If you go through my slide, it's part of the combo plan, you will discover that there are so many things we can look at. We can look at fault tolerance. We can look at um, operating system. Um, we can look at security and all that. Okay. And also performance. We can also look at it by performance. So let's look at it in performance. So, okay, mainframe computers are measured in IMPS. This means what? Millions of instruction per second. Why supercomputer are measured in what? In flops. And that flop means what? Floating points operation PS per second. Fault tolerance mainframe computers have a high fault tolerance. Now, this simply means that if one processor is bad, it will automatically switch to the next one to ensure consistency and transaction processing. That is very good about the mainframe computer. So it has a very high fault tolerance and also allows hot swapping. Yeah, let's look at it in terms of cores. In terms of processor core, let's talk about it in terms of processor core. Can just put this as characteristics 3, processor core, difference. The supercomputer have more cores than mainframe. I think hundreds. I think it's 190 cores for mainframe. Supercomputer have hundreds of thousands. Yeah, I think so. Hundreds of thousands, right? Hundreds of thousands. Okay, so hundreds of thousands. So it has more cores than um, the uh, mainframe computer. Okay, in terms of operating system, mainframe have multiple operating system. While the supercomputer makes use of only Linux. So take note, right? So operating system characteristic for difference mainframe computers can have multiple operating system. Why supercomputer has only Linux. Now, it's important to know that when it comes to mainframe computers, they are designed to process millions of transactions. They are using banks, they are using airlines. But for supercomputers, they perform extremely complex calculations. And they are using what? Weather forecasting and scientific research. So know the difference. Mainframe is for banks, airlines. Supercomputer is for what? Okay, let me just put this here. Mainframe for banks, airlines, air, yeah, airlines and supercomputer, right? Is for what? To perform extremely what? Complex calculations. So they are used for what? Weather forecasting and what? And scientific research. Can you see that? Okay. Are we learning? And can you see my handwriting? Very important. I think it's okay. Yeah, I think his handwriting is clear. Okay, let's move to the next one. Oh, the other card. I didn't see that. The other characteristics here that I should have, I think I put them here. So you can actually do that. Is there anyone I can add So we can, okay, let's talk about security. Let me just add for security. Okay. So mainframe computers, computers are more secured than what? Supercomputer. Okay. So that is done. Pressure sensors and humidity sensors may be used in a control system. So this is chapter 3, monitoring and controls. And I have pictures in my slide for teachers who are watching. I have pictures in my slide on each of these sensors, so you can actually see them when you're also teaching your students. So pressure sensors and humidity sensors may be used in a control system. Let's talk about, for each of them, describe how it gathers data. Now, let's talk about pressure sensor first. What's pressure sensor? Pressure sensor measures the force applied. So when there's a pressure, right, when there's a force, right, applied to its surface and converts it into an electrical signal. That's what the pressure sensor does. Now, when weight is applied, like you step on, sometimes the door opens. When you're getting close to the door opens, that's the presence of pressure sensor, and then you leave, the door closes. So when the weight is applied, sensor detects pressure, electrical signal changes, computer interprets the change. Okay, are we learning? Computer what? Interprets what? The change. Now, when we talk about humidity sensor, I want to explain these two things first. That's what we do here. We don't just solve any, we teach you so you understand. Now, let me talk about humidity sensor, right? Humidity sensor detects moisture levels in the air by measuring changes in electrical properties, such as, can you give me example in the comment section? Just in 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Resistance, yeah? Such as resistance, okay? Capacitance. So that's what it does. So they detect what? The moisture level in the air by measuring changes in what? In electrical what? Properties. So now they said for each sensor, describe how it gathers data. Now we know how it works. How does it gather the data? And this is exactly what I've explained. Okay. So for the pressure, right? When weight is applied, Sensor detects pressure, electrical signal changes, and computer interprets the change. For humidity, sky height gathers data. Okay. No, we talked about resistance and capacitance. Okay, so we can talk about that. So it gathers changes. It gathers changes in electrical properties. Properties such as, okay, let me write it here. Such as resistance, and I know there's another one, and capacitance. Can't remember that one. And capacitance. Okay, and more moisture causes electrical characteristics to change. Electrical characteristics to change. A sensor converts these changes into data. So that's how to answer questions like this. Okay. A car park management system has a pressure sensor in each parking space. So that simply means when the car is getting close, it detects a pressure, the car barrier opens. This pressure are used to find out how many free spaces are available. So when the car park, when the cars go to this parking space, there's a pressure on it. So that simply means the car, um, that parking space is taken. When there's no pressure, that car parking space is free. Okay. So I've explained generally what this means. Describe how this system works. Okay. Describe how this system works. So let's look at it. So the first one is each parking space has a pressure sensor. Let's start with that. Has a pressure sensor. The next one is standard pressure value is stored. That simply means that if a car is parked on this space, it is taken, and anybody coming in will automatically be directed to what the next car parking space. So a standard pressure value is stored, which represents empty parking space. The sensor continuously collects data. Analog readings are converted to digital using what? Good. Using what we call the ADC. This is analog to digital what? Converter. That's what it means. So the computer can interpret and understand. So the analog readings are converted to the what? To digital values. Digital values using ADC. Okay, let me just clean it here. Digital values using ADC. Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. I've written ADC here. All right. The next one, the processor compares the reading with the stored standard what? Value. If pressure increases, a vehicle a vehicle is present. If the pressure remains unchanged, the space is empty. The system updates the database. The system calculates the number of available spaces. So they don't have a parking space issue, right? And finally, the result. So everybody is aware. The result is displayed on a screen. Okay. So the way the pressure sensor works, let me explain how it works, right? I just want to give you, okay, this is chapter 2, by the way. So, so chapter 3, rather, monitoring and controls. So the way it works, so we have what we call a pressure sensor, just to give you a diagram. Then we have the ADC, Then we have the processor. This processor is like the same thing with all sensors, right? Whether humidity sensor and all the sensors, right? So we have the processor. Then we have what we call compare. It's going to compare with the standard value. Then it's going to look at occupied or empty. Or empty. Then we have what we call the database updates. This is just a hack for it across everything, right? Database updated. And then you have what? The final one is what? Free space displayed. So you can now tweak it to other sensors as you want. So that's just how it works, really. That's just how it works. Okay. All right. Okay. I think we're done with this. Define the term calibration. This is chapter 3. Monitoring and control. Now, we will talk about calibration. When you use sensor, the continual use of sensor, it gets to the point that sensor over time becomes inaccurate. A pressure sensor, since we're still on pressure sensor, a pressure sensor that could read 50, um, 50 kilogram is now reading 54 kilogram. What do you think has happened? It needs calibration. So that calibration simply means that you are adjusting the sensor so that it once again can give the correct value. So you are measuring against known value. You know, for example, that this is always 20 degrees Celsius. And when you measure the pressure sensor, it gives you 24. You calibrate it, you adjust it, you adjust it, you adjust it, right? So it's an adjustment. You're not testing, you are adjusting the sensor to give you an accurate reading with known values. So if you are testing, if you now adjust it, it's giving you 20, you do it again, it's giving you 20, you do it again, give you 20, you do it again, give you 20, then you can now test it on other ones. That's just what it means, right? That's just what it means. As simple as that. That's just what, because most of the time people are always confused about the word calibration, 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 and I feel that I need to explain that. So calibration is the adjustment of a sensor to ensure that it gives accurate what? Readings. That's just what it is. To give what? Accurate readings. Right? So that's just what it is. Okay. We also have multi-calibrations. So that simply means that one test is you are testing it against two values, not just one. You test it again with another one to ensure that, right, it does that, right? Okay. That's multi-point calibration. Then explain why it is important to calibrate pressure sensor. So we're still on chapter 3, monitoring and control. Explain why it's important to calibrate what? Pressure sensor. Why is it important? The first one I said is sensor become what? Inaccurate over time. Why is it important to calibrate pressure sensor? Calibration restores accuracy. It helps maintain reliable reading. Reliable what? Readings. There's an E here. It increases the useful life of the sensor. So that's what happens here. Okay. All right. Look at this. Now let's look at this. Let me give you a real life example on this calibration of a thing so you understand more. Suppose the car park sensor thinks no car occupied. Going back to this question, what is it? Going back to 5B, right? Suppose that the sensor is now reading no car occupied. For example, no car equals to what? Occupied. Think about this. It simply means that it needs what? Calibration. Because why are you telling me that there's no car and you are saying occupied? Or it will now display 0 spaces available. Meanwhile, there are spaces, even when spaces are free. So calibration prevents such problems. That's what calibration does. Prevent what? Such problems. Are we good? So I just wanted to explain that. Okay. So I know that when it comes to calibration, you have an idea on it. An expert system may be data driven. So we have what? Chapter 7, expert system. Right? Because chapter 1 is data processing and information, chapter 2 hardware and software, chapter 3 monitoring and controls, chapter 4 algorithm and flowchart, chapter 5 insecurity, chapter 6 digital device, chapter 7 expert system, chapter 8 spreadsheet, chapter 9 modeling, chapter 10 database and file concept, chapter 11 video and sound editing. That's AS for you. Okay. All right. So an expert system may be data. So we have data driven and we have goal driven. So an expert system may be data driven. Describe with the use of example what is meant by the term data driven. Now, data driven makes use of what we call, yeah, can you tell me in the comment section what does it? Now we have 2 types of chaining, right? So tell me in the comment section, data driven, what does it use? Just tell me in the comment section. I'm waiting. Just tell me in the comment section. Yeah, tell me what is it. Right, whichever platform that is YouTube or whatever you're watching from, just tell me in the comment section. What does it use? Good. Forward chaining. And goal driven uses what? Backward chaining. So you have a goal in mind, so you want to. I always in the slide, if you're a teacher watching this, you will see in the slide I gave a real life example, and I gave this funny scenario as this. I gave this funny scenario. Now, there are two brothers, and one observed that the brother used to go to the kitchen to take mommy's meat, right? So he observes that. So he starts gathering evidence, right? The point that he knows that mommy, that his brother, like he knows, I know you are the one doing it. And then he now starts gathering evidence. That's goal driven. But data driven, you don't really know, but you want to gather the evidence and then get to that point. And if that uh, analogy makes sense. So the data entered would determine the rules, which rules are being examined. Okay. So the system starts with what? A fact. That's for what chaining. It starts with a fact and works towards a conclusion. That's data driven. Now, let me explain this so you understand. So you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, we have goal driven. So you have a goal in mind. So you start with one fact. For data driven, you're starting with one fact. He has taken the meat, right? And you work to ensure that truly he took the meat. That's data driven, right? Let me give another example so you understand. Let me give another. Maybe that one is not clear. Let me give you another one. Let's use a medical expert system, right? So, for example, um, the user enters, I have fever, I have cough, I have headache. Okay. These facts become a starting point for the expert system. You have a fever, you have a cough, you have a headache. Okay. Now, what is the inference engine going to do? It's going to examine what? The knowledge base. And mind you, the user interface can be designed and added to any knowledge, to any what? Knowledge base. So it examines the rules. For example, if you have fever, you have cough, then you have a fluid. Now, we now have a new fact that the patient may have a flu. The system is going to check for more rules. If there's a flu and there's a headache, then please see a doctor. So it gives that advice to possibly what? Seek, right? Medical what? Advice. So data driven use forward chaining, goal driven uses backward chaining. So you are going back from the goal to the fact, from the conclusion to the data. Data driven goes from the fact to the conclusion. I know this person and I'm going to prove it. Data driven is the fact that somebody in this house goes to that kitchen to take the meat. There's no ghost anywhere. Those are all in the movies. They're all in the movies. Mo- Mommy, Dad, I think it's a ghost. Oh my goodness. There are no ghosts anywhere. Mommy, I think the ghost took it. I see you. A ghost. Nice, nice. Well, let's do data driven then. Let's do data driven. Okay. Okay. So that is how the data driven and the goal driven works. Goal driven is backward chaining and data driven is forward chaining. I hope that clarifies everything. Describe with the use of an example what is meant by data driven. And I gave this example. I'm going to use the example that I gave. So let's do that. So let me do this. I said data driven uses what? Forward chaining. Okay. So this simply means that the data entered determines which rules are examined. So the system starts with facts and works towards a conclusion. Okay, so let's look at that, right? So, example we're going to use um, using, you have to specify whichever I want to use, using a medical, that's what I'm using a medical expert system. Okay, the user, right? You know, the way the expert system works. So we have the user interface, we have what? The inference engine, and the explanation system. It goes directly to the what? To the to the knowledge base that has the rule base and everything, right? Okay. So the user enters fever, cough, and headache. Okay. So this right here becomes what? The starting data. So this is the starting data. So take note. So the inference engine examines rules. Okay. So if fever and cough, okay, if fever and cough, then notice if is here. Okay, I want to do it this way. So it makes it so if fever and cough, then flu, right? So this is going to what? Match the rule. Okay, so new facts created, patient may have what? Flu. Are we learning? The system, the first is going to check more on the what knowledge base using the what the rule base. The system checks more rules to say if flu and headache, then recommend doctor, right? So you now have what in the user interface as an output. Remember, this one now is the input. Then you now have the output, seek medical advice. This is as what? The output. So that's the way it works with data driven. Okay. So it starts with what? The data, you search for the matching rules and you generate what? New facts. You continue until a solution is what? Is reached. Right? So it starts with a known fact and uses for chaining to search rules until a conclusion is reached. So if I'm to use the goal driven for this, I talked about the fact that it uses a backward chaining. I want to explain this for you. Where will I do it? Oh, great. I can do that. Okay, let me use goal driven for this. So a goal driven, I want to teach you that a goal driven uses backward chaining. So that means that what? The system starts with a possible conclusion. Notice that you are starting with the fact that then you go to the conclusion or goal and then searches for rules that support that conclusion. So you know your brother took the meat and then you want to bring evidences. That's goal driven. Okay. So it asks, for example, the user questions to determine whether the required conditions are true. The process continues until the goal is proven or rejected. So let's imagine the expert system diagnosing a disease, right? Just like we did here. We want to use a goal driven for this. Okay. So here, the goal is patient has malaria. Let's start with that. So the system starts to go. The system starts with this goal. Okay. So here we have if fever and headache and positive blood test, then malaria, right? So the system works backward. So the system, that's the backward chaining. The system, are you learning? Are you learning? The system works backwards. So instead of asking what symptoms, which is the forward chaining, what symptoms do you have? It asks, do you have a fever? And if the user says, for example, if yes, ask another one, do you have a headache? If yes, we'll ask, was the blood test positive? If yes, then the system concludes the patient has what? Malaria. So a goal-driven system uses what? Backward chaining, right? So it begins with what? A solution or a goal, and then searches the rule base to determine which facts are needed to support that conclusion. And it asks about those facts, and if the evidence are found, the goal is confirmed. So I want to give you an easy memory trick for understanding forward chaining and backward chaining. So let me do this for you, right? Just because you are subscribed to this YouTube channel, let me do that for you. So I'm going to call this easy memory trick. So this is an easy memory trick. So we have, let me do this for you. So we have forward chaining. This is data driven. So you have facts, it goes to rules, it goes to conclusion. An example of this is I have a fact. I have what? I have facts. What conclusion can I reach? Now, let's look at the backward chaining. This is what? Goal driven. So you have what? A goal, you have rules, you have facts. So, example, I have a conclusion. Can I prove it? So I think I've been able to explain what goal driven and data driven is so you can understand that. Okay. All right. A student has created an algorithm to calculate the average set of numbers. So this is what? This is chapter 4, algorithm and flowchart. To calculate the average set of numbers, the user will be asked how many numbers they wish to enter. The user would respond with a number. The user will then enter that many number. The algorithm will calculate will total the number entered and divide the total by how many number the user said they will enter. So for example, I wish to enter 4, right? The user would respond. Then the system, the user would then enter that. The user will respond with a number. Okay, so how many number do you wish to enter? 4 numbers. So that simply means I want to enter 1, 2, 3, 4. Would now total it and then divide the total by that many number, right? To find the average. So this is 3, 6, 10 divided by 4. Something like that. Now, the algorithm is shown. The line numbers may have been included. The line number have been included to help you. So let's start with, they said, okay, state 3 mistakes in this algorithm and suggest how it should be corrected. Let's look at this. Line 10 already is wrong. Why is it wrong? No number has been entered yet, right? No number has been entered yet. So why are we having 10? Right? Have been entered yet. So why are we having 10? Right? So instead, we should have what? Total is equals to what? 0. Because no number have been entered yet. So it should start at 0. Okay, input number of repeats, repeat n, repeat. We have count is 1. 60 counts. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. And why is it wrong? Now, the variables needs to be updated. You are just saying plus 1 equals to count. How? Right? The variables have to be updated. So what we are seeing here is that the original statement performs, there's no assignment it performs. So rather, we should have something like this. So this is wrong. So rather, we should have something like this. The count, okay, then exactly count plus 1. So the count will now go here and then to go here. So it has no assignment. So I was wondering, why is that there? Okay, right? So here we're saying that what variable must be updated. And we're saying that, sorry. So you don't think this is the wrong one. So this one here, and then this one here. The original statement performs no assignment. Okay. No, this is wrong. Oh, so this is totally wrong. You can't have it like this. I mean, this is totally wrong. First, because you should be having total, you should be having total first, this first, and then total plus number. So this is wrong first, wrong. And why? Right? The result has to be stored in total. So that's what we are saying. Look at what you are not saying total. This means that total is being stored in number, which is wrong. This is wrong. Total cannot be stored in number. The result has to be stored in total. Okay, that's why it's wrong. We have other ones here. Let me see. We have until count equals to number. It's wrong. Why? You said input n, not we didn't say input number, right? Because n stores the number of values entered. That n. So there's why will you put the instead? You have this. You replace this number to what? To n, because you are dividing it. There's no number. Nothing has been assigned, right? That's the reason why we said this is wrong. Why? Because n stores the number of values to be entered. So, are we clear with this? Let me know in the comment section if you are clear. Can you see how I've done that? So just look for it and find that out. Okay. So let's put the mistakes down. Okay. Let's put the mistakes down. Line 10, mistake 1. Line 10, total is wrong because, what did I say here? No number has been entered yet because no number numbers, right? Numbers have been entered yet. Okay. And the total should start at what? 0. So correct line 10 should be what? Total 0. So that's how I do it. Okay. Mistake 2. What did we say was the next mistake? Line 60. You can see the way I'm answering it. Line 60, count plus 1 is wrong. There's also an error in line 40. I'm just seeing there's also an error in line 40. Look at this. I'm just seeing this now. The direction of the arrow is wrong. It's pointing the wrong direction because this is wrong arrow direction. Yeah, I'm just seeing that now. Why? This should be count. This how it should be. This is the right one. Okay, it doesn't go that way. It doesn't go so it's wrong arrow direction. Yes, it's pointing the right direction. So that's how you do it. Okay. So line 60 is wrong because the variable must be updated. And the original statement performs no assignment. So correct line 60 is count equals to count plus 1. Okay, what do we do? I think there are almost 4. There are 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 1. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5. Yeah, there are 5. There are 5. Yeah, there are 5. So the next one, shall we pick in? You can pick anyone. I've given you everything. You can pick anyone. Line 90. Line 90. What's line 90? Total plus number. And that number is wrong. By the way, take note. Okay, input number. Okay, we have input number here. Okay, that's fine. Okay, we have input number here. So we have input. So the input number is for this one. Then until count, which is this one. So this is the end. Yes. Until count. So which is the other one? Okay. So this input number is only for the repeats. It's for this one. Then this one is for this and this. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So total plus number, then total. So it is in an incorrect order. It's wrong because let's say the result. Yes. It is the right one. And I said the reason for this is because what? The result must be stored in total. Okay. The result must be stored in total. The result must be stored in total because the result must be stored in total. So correct line 90 be what? What did I put there? Total, yes. So total is equals to total plus number. Okay, so that's done. Students are always scared of this, so I just had to explain and just show you how to identify them.
A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Ajiro Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdExcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have um, you know the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, um, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at agiletech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across um, other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable, and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, um, and also for the EdExcel. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdExcel E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time. Even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for um, a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at agile@gmail.com, and they'll reply to you.
Question 7b. The algorithm uses a repeat until loop. The student wishes to change the algorithm so that it uses a y end loop. Construct a repeat until loop with a y end loop. So this is chapter 4. You can also see it in chapter 3 as well. So let's look at this. We talk about repeat until, right? Condition, this is a good example. Condition checks at the end, right? Loop always run at least once. Repeat this until the count is equals to what? The number that the person have put in, and then stop, give us our average, and then print. Okay? So condition checks at the end. Loop always runs at least once. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to totally rewrite all this using repeat until and end and y and y. So we can now understand this, right? So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to do this. So so I have this. Don't need to start into, why are you starting total here? So let me write it my own way. Let me write it my own way. So I'm going to start with this impute n, then I'm going to start with count. Okay, I'm going to start with count and then total. So you understand it, total equals to 0. Then I have repeat, input number, then we have the total is equals to total plus number, then count is equals to count plus 1 until count is equals to n, which is this one. Then if that's the case, there's no space for me. If that's the case, I want to differentiate it. If that's the case, then we'll have what? Continuation from here. Let me just do, okay, that's that's line. L is line. So we'll now have what? Average is equals to total divided by n. And then for line 100, we have what? Output average. So if you check this, you will see that it's almost the same thing. We did the total here, 0, and then input number of repeats, print input number of repeats, right? Input n, we just went direct. So input n, so start with input n, the count is 0, the total is 0, then repeat, we have the input number here, print input number. So that's what the user will see, count, print input number, and then you have it as count, which is what print input number, which is count, and we're having this count variable as what? Incrementing as what? As count plus 1 when we have this, and then you have input number, and then you have total number, you have total equals to total plus number, and then until it matches the n, then you have average is equals to total over n and print average. So it's only the same. The only difference was that there was a print input number count, and the count kept incrementing, right? It will increment by 1, and then you print the number, and then we're going to do that. So here, this is for the repeat until, then let me use the ny, the end, the y and y, right? So for the ny, the y and y, we have the inputs, and we're going to have count equals to 0, count, sorry, total, we have total is equals to 0. Then we now have y count is less than n. So y count is less than n, right? So it keeps going. If count is 0 and the number you enter is 5, so you look at it, you see that 0 is less than 5, right? So because 0 is less than 5, input number. So input number, then you have what? Total is equals to what? Is equals to total, which is the what? It keeps incrementing by 0 for the number you're going to input. If it's 2, right? So that will be plus number. And then you have count is equals to what? Count plus 1. And then you end y. Okay, you end y. And then you have what? Your average is equals to what? Total n. And then output is equals to what? Average. Okay, so that's done. So now with this understanding, now we can now proceed. Now for the end while loop, conditions are what are checked at the beginning. You know, conditions are checked at the end until this. When I say if it's less than, but if it's not, if it's greater than, just go directly. Just go directly to the. But this one is going to do that till it goes to the end. It stops here once. If the person enter, once the person enter, once the count is that, it stops. Right? So condition is checked at the beginning. Why this condition is checked here? Why for the repeat until it's checked at what? At the end. Condition checked at the beginning. And may never run. So take note. May never run. So, so that is how you answer questions like that. So to construct. So that's it. We will just put it there. So repeat until condition are checked at the end. And then loop always runs at least once. And then we have what? The y and y. Condition are checked at the beginning. May never run. Okay. Question 8. Identify and describe 3 characteristics of modeling software. So that's chapter 9. Modeling. So what are the characteristics of modeling? Now, when we are doing when we are talking about modeling, we have The first one is the what if. Okay, we have what if. Um, we can have automatic recalculation, and we have rules or formulas, right? We even have cell protection, your macros, okay? Your macros. So let's do that. Let's say we should identify and describe. So, so the three characteristics. So we have what if, what if analysis. Okay, do this here. Allows users to change values and see different what outcomes. And example of this, I can give an example, could be changing interest rates to see the effect on loan payment, repayment. We have automatic recalculation. It's all there in the slide. Here we have what? When input, automatic calculation, when input change, output update automatically. When input change. So if you want to do calculation, if you have done the formula on the output, if you put any value in the input, it's going to change. So let me give you an example. Changing salary value automatically updates total payroll. We have rules or formulas, right? So this is what uses mathematical formula to process data. I'll give you an example. Profit is equals to what? Revenue minus cost. Okay. So we have other ones like your macro cell protection. Oh, I'm tired. And this is one of the beauty about Ajiro Tech. We are the only YouTube channel that does theory on ICT, on ASIT, and we are, for the first time, we are moving to the A2 IT in this, you know, in this series. So to tell you the dedication that we put in so that you can understand, because there's no way for the ES you're going to have a good grade if you don't do well in your theory, right? Because your theory is 70 and the weighted mark is 1.277 something to give you 90. So 90 in your practical plus 90 in your theory gives you 180. Okay, let's do this. All right, let's go ahead. I'm tired. Okay, but I have to make that sacrifice for you all. Way has recently started an accountancy business. An accountancy business. She's considering using either custom written or off-the-shelf software in the business. So this is chapter 2. Hardware and software. Discuss the sustainability of each of the software. We'll talk about off-the-shelf. These are software that has been developed already. So you just get a license and use it. Custom written are the ones that are developed, tailored to that company only. To discuss the sustainability. So we'll talk about discuss. We're looking at both advantages and we are looking at what? Disadvantages. Right? Because we want to discuss the sustainability about it. Right? So we pick each one and then we'll talk about it. Okay. So let's talk about, I'm going to split it. Let's talk about the custom written software. And then we'll talk about the advantages. Now, for the custom written, it is tailored to the business needs. So only includes required what? Features. That's an accountancy business, okay? Compatible with business processes. Which can match exactly how the company works. The business can influence testing and development. Disadvantages. Development cost are high because only for you. Must be designed, tested, and implemented, which takes time. May contain errors during what? Development. Okay, let's talk about off the shelf. Off the shelf. Let me just do this. For off the shelf, Advantages: can be installed and used straight away. Development costs are shared among many customers. Usually contains fewer errors as the software is widely tested. Disadvantages: may include functions never used. Business must adapt, whether they like it or not, because it's a general software, must adapt to software, and support may stop if company closes. Okay. So this is how you answer questions like this, and you discuss both of them, and you can also bring in a conclusion, right? So you can also bring in a conclusion. So my conclusion will be, let me put my conclusion here. So my conclusion will be, for a small business, for a small accountancy business, off the shelf, it's just small. So off the shelf software is often more suitable initially because it is cheaper, available immediately, available immediately, and is well tested. Right? However, custom written software may become more suitable if specialized business requirements develop. Okay, I think we've done justice to that. A list of small fields from a database is shown. So this is chapter 10, database and file concept. For each field name, identify the most appropriate data type. Employee name is usually a text. Yes, a text. Hourly rate of pay. Hourly rate pay is currency. So we have numeric. So you have to put it numeric. What kind of numeric? Currency. Was employee born in France? Yes or no? This is usually a yes or no. So that means what? Boolean. Thank you. All right. So this is done. A present check has always been run on each field on a database. This is chapter 10. For each of the following field, identify and describe one other type of validation that can be used. Present check are always run. That simply means that the field cannot be empty. That's what present check means. It cannot be null, right? So identify one other type of validation that can be used. You should only use each type of validation once. So for the hourly rate of pay, what do we use? We can use hourly rate, a range check. So for hourly rate, we take £5 to £15 or something like that. So is what? A range check. Identify and describe. So range check, right? So for the range check, it checks to see, it checks, it checks that the data entered must be data enter false within two or between, this is the right word, check the data entered falls between two acceptable limits. So we have what? The lower and what? Higher limit. Yeah, that's the right word. Okay. Date of birth. So any value outside that given range should be what? Rejected. Okay. So you could have, for example, okay, £5 is less than equals to the pay, and then less than equals to £15. Okay, something like that. So date of birth, format check. Why is it a format check? Because we have what? DD, MM, YYYY. And the reason is that it checks to ensure the data entered is of the correct format. Okay, so we have the DDMMYYY. Justify why a field holding the age of each employee has been set as a calculated field. Now, let me explain why. Now, age is calculated from This is also chapter 10. So if you want. Age is calculated from current date minus date of birth, right? So let's say the current date now is 2026 and you were born in 2000, and I think for the A levels, that will be hmm, from 2009, right? 2009 for A level, 2009, 2008. So this is how you do it. So if you do this calculation now, you will see that you are having 2009. Cannot go. This is one here. This is 16. This is 7. So this is 1. This is 0, 0. So the child is what? 17 years. So this child will be either in AS or A2, right? Or 2010. Okay. So that's how we do it. So then let's say justify if you holding the age of each employee has been set as what? So we need to justify. And what a calculated field does is to update automatically, remains what? Accurate, right? And reduces every form of what? Human what? Error. And age changes every year. So it shouldn't be stored permanently. Okay, it shouldn't be stored what? Permanently. Okay, so the first one is that age is calculated from the current date minus the date of birth. Age changes every year. That's why I have to like a calculated field. And a calculated field updates automatically, reduces human error. Okay, so that's how you do it, right? So age is calculated using the employee's what? Is calculated using the employee's date of birth and the current date. And because the age changes over time, a calculated field automatically updates. Let me rephrase it and put it like that. Because age changes over time, a calculated field, let me clean this, calculated field automatically updates the value whenever it is viewed. This ensures Specify, okay, this ensures, yeah, the age remains accurate and reduces the risk of incorrect data being stored. So, so that's what it means. It means and reduce any form of what human error. So that's how you answer questions like this. Any more? Okay, great. All right, so we've come to the end of this paper. I'm so tired. I'm really tired. But we've done it. We've come to the end of it. And so we'll start questions from chapter 10. Um, Usually for AS, every chapter is being tested. Every chapter is, I think the only chapter we didn't see was spreadsheet, right? Which is chapter 8. But chapter 10, chapter 2, chapter 1, chapter 9, and chapter 6. Chapter 8 and chapter 6 was still here, digital divide and spreadsheet, right? So every other chapter was um, was included here to so it's important for you to study, to go through, and if you're interested in our private tuition classes, please feel free to message the sales team and or the academic coordination team, info@agiotech.com or agiotech@gmail.com. And the combo plan is still on for the E levels, which is going for one day at 60 pounds, and you get the bonus resource, which is what chapter 12 and chapter 13, which is the A2, added to the plan. And the ICT plan, which is going for 80 pounds, is still available. So this is for teachers, right? So and we also have private tuition for all other subjects as well. Okay, so okay. Again, this is automatically updated to teachers in the combo plan. So so if you need the soft worksheet, it's for the teachers. Okay, all right. So thank you for learning. Please let me know in the comment section what you've learned, and do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So right here, or if you're smart TV or your laptop, youtube.com/agiltech. And if you have not joined our Discord community server, please do so. Just scan the QR code, or you can go to this link, or you go to this link, and it will take you there. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in our private tuition IT class. Bye for now.